Have you ever felt truly stuck? Like there's a version of you inside, capable of so much more, but you just can't seem to reach it? What if I told you that this tiny mindset shift, a quiet decision made in the earliest hours, can transform your whole life? This isn't just one of many mindset transformation stories. This is a story about breaking free from the chains of your own thinking. Meet Ethan Miller, a regular guy from Cedarville, Michigan. At 32, Ethan wasn't living a bad life, but he certainly wasn't living his best life. His days often started with a wrestling match against his alarm clock, usually ending in defeat with a hit of the snooze button. He worked as a marketing assistant for a local furniture store, a job that paid the bills but left his soul feeling a little empty. Evenings were a blur of takeout, endless scrolling on his phone, and the familiar weight of feeling overwhelmed by tasks he never seemed to start. He dreamed of learning graphic design, of getting fit, of just having more energy, but those dreams always felt distant, always for someday. Ethan carried around a heavy burden, though he didn't realize it at the time, a fixed mindset. Whenever an idea for self-improvement popped into his head, a voice inside would immediately shoot it down. "I'm not a morning person," he'd tell himself, dismissing the idea of an early start. "I'm not creative enough to learn graphic design," he'd think, even before opening a tutorial. "I'm just not disciplined like those successful people." This fear of failure was so profound that it manifested as a fear of trying. If he didn't try, he couldn't fail, right? But this also meant he couldn't succeed, couldn't grow. His fixed mindset convinced him that his abilities and intelligence were set in stone, unchangeable. This belief kept him trapped, a spectator in his own life, watching others achieve what he secretly longed for. He was caught in a cycle of wanting more, feeling overwhelmed by the gap between where he was and where he wanted to be, and then doing nothing because it was just too hard, or he wasn't wired for it. His inner monologue was a constant stream of limitations. One Tuesday evening, after another particularly unproductive day and a night spent mindlessly watching TV, Ethan hit a wall. He saw an old college friend post about starting his own business, thriving, radiating confidence. A pang of envy shot through him, followed by a deeper, more profound wave of despair. Why not me, he thought, and for the first time, the answer wasn't because of my circumstances, but because of me. Later that night, scrolling through an obscure corner of the internet, he stumbled upon an article about the habits of highly successful people. The common thread? A powerful, intentional morning ritual, often starting before dawn. He scoffed, of course. "There's that morning person thing again," he muttered. But something was different this time. Instead of fully dismissing it, a tiny, defiant spark ignited. What if his perceived limitations weren't facts, but just beliefs? What if he could change? This was his turning point, the moment he glimpsed the possibility of a growth mindset, the idea that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. He decided, right then and there, that he would try the 5 a.m. ritual. Not because he believed it would magically fix everything, but because it was a tangible act of rebellion against his own fixed mindset, a promise to himself that he would at least try to grow. The first morning was brutal. The alarm blared at 5 a.m., shattering the peaceful darkness of his Cedarville home. Every fiber of his being screamed for the snooze button. The air was cold, his bed warm. His fixed mindset whispered, "See? You're not meant for this. Just go back to sleep." But fueled by that spark of defiance, he swung his legs out of bed. He didn't run a marathon. He didn't write a novel. He simply made a cup of coffee, sat at his kitchen table, and opened a blank journal. For 30 minutes, he wrote down his thoughts, his worries, his hopes. Then he spent another 30 minutes reading a chapter from a book on personal development. He wasn't aiming for perfection, just for showing up. Each day, the struggle was real, but each day, he showed up. Slowly, painstakingly, the internal battle began to shift. The cold room became a quiet sanctuary. The early darkness became a canvas for his plans. This wasn't just about waking up. It was about consistently choosing to believe in his ability to change, to grow. It was a daily declaration of a growth mindset. Soon, the effects rippled out. That quiet hour of reflection and planning started to influence his entire day. He approached his work at the furniture store with new ideas, tackling complex marketing challenges with a problem-solving attitude instead of dread. He started that online graphic design course, dedicating 30 minutes each morning after his journaling. He began to see setbacks not as failures, but as learning opportunities, a true hallmark of a growth mindset. His diet improved. He started taking short walks, and his energy levels soared. People noticed. His boss praised his new initiative. His friends commented on his newfound optimism. These weren't dramatic, overnight changes. These were small, consistent victories against his old self, all born from that decision to embrace the 5 a.m. ritual and the mindset transformation stories he was now creating for himself. Every sunrise became a symbol of his ability to choose growth over stagnation, to actively sculpt his own potential. The truth Ethan discovered wasn't about the magic of 5 a.m. itself. It was about the incredible power of showing up for yourself, consistently, intentionally. The 5 a.m. ritual was his anchor, a daily commitment to cultivating a growth mindset. It proved to him that he wasn't defined by his past habits or perceived limitations, but by his willingness to learn, to adapt, and to keep pushing forward. It taught him that the biggest obstacles weren't external circumstances, but the internal narratives he told himself. By challenging those narratives every single morning, he rewrote his own story. Perhaps your challenge isn't about waking up at 5 a.m. Maybe your stuck feeling comes from a different place, a different fixed mindset belief. It could be, I'm too old to learn something new, or I'm not smart enough to start that project, or I'll never get over this setback. The lesson from Ethan's journey, and indeed from countless mindset transformation stories, is that your mind is your most powerful tool or your most restrictive cage. What small, consistent, intentional action can you commit to prove to yourself that your potential is boundless? What daily ritual can you adopt to challenge your limiting beliefs and cultivate a growth mindset? Ethan's story isn't unique because he woke up early. It's unique because he chose to change his thinking, to embrace the idea that growth is always possible. He learned that the journey to a transformed life doesn't start with a grand gesture, but with a quiet, powerful decision made within yourself. It starts with a mindset shift. Change your thinking, and you truly can change your life.